Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla News, episode 140. The Model Y is quickly becoming the best-selling car in the world. And Tesla shows there is no demand cliff in China. And the European automakers are now asking politicians for help. And GM is copying pages from Tesla's playbook. And the Europe NCAP dedunked some of the FUD that have been spread about Tesla's safety. And Tesla will save about $240 million in 2023 because of small changes. All of this and much more to come on today's episode. Start right in.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
The Model Y is quickly becoming the best-selling car in the world. I did make a whole video about the Model Y takeover this week, so if you want to learn more, you can check out that one. But to make it short, we see the Model Y not just as the best-selling EV in the world, but it's starting to become the best-selling car of any kind in many places in the world here in September. Like in New Zealand, it was the best-selling car of any kind, and in Australia, it was the third best-selling car. In Denmark, it was the second best-selling car. In the UK, it was the second best-selling car. And in Switzerland, it was the best-selling car of any kind, even year to date. And in Germany, it was the best-selling car of any kind in September. Wow. And I just wanted to point out one more thing here in Germany. BEVs is almost 20% of the market. No one of the German automakers has 20% BEV in their production. So going forward, they will drop in sales as they are not keeping up with the demand. And why all the German automakers combined have dropped from 60 to 50% EV market share this year. And also a nice observation here is that the plug-in vehicles have a 32.3% market share and petrol has a 32.2% market share. What a pivotal moment in history we are witnessing. And let me just show you a couple of more. This was Germany in September, 32% plug-in. In the UK, they had 22% plug-in. France with 21%. Sweden, 55%. Netherlands with 23%. And of course, Norway with 89%. But most legacy automakers has less than 10% plug-in sales. What are they going to sell in all these countries? And Germany and the UK and France, they are some of the biggest markets here in Europe. But I will get back to that in a moment. Firstly, let's get back to the Model Y. So without all the calculation I did in my videos this week, I do expect the Model Y to sell about 850,000 units this year. So that should make it probably the third best-selling car in the world here in 2022. And when it comes to profits, it will be the best-selling car in the world, hands down. And with the ramp in Texas and Berlin, it should easily become the best-selling car of any kind in 2023, even on units sales. So look like Elon's prediction will come true. This is just so impressive. It could very well be the fastest growing vehicle in history. Ford's Model T that made Ford one of the fastest growing large manufacturers in history, just behind Tesla of course, but that took 8 years to get to 500,000 units. And the Toyota Corolla that has been sitting on the best-selling car title for decades debuted in 1966, but first 8 years later became the best-selling car in the world in 1974, and that was with only 640,000 units sold in 1974. It took 11 years for the Corolla to get to 840,000 units sold, the size I do believe Tesla Model Y will get to this year, only in its third full year of production. This is just unheard of. Or at least I have never heard of any other car model that has grown this fast. If you know, please let me know down below. So not only is the growth of the Model Y completely insane, but boy, was the haters and short sellers wrong about this vaporware car.
This is sort of the vaporware Tesla Model Y that we will probably never see.
The Model Y, I think is terminally ugly. I don't know who's going to buy that. It's another one of these humpback things like the Model X. It's neither a sport utility nor a sedan, and to the extent it sells, I don't think it's going to break into a new segment. I think the sales will be largely substitutional to the Model 3.
Boy, those videos are only like 3 to 4 years old, and they could not have been more wrong, even if they tried. The Model Y is quickly becoming the new king of the road. And we also had some new record sales from Tesla in China in September, even though many automotive analysts wanted you to believe that Tesla is having demand problems in China. Well, September happened to be Tesla's strongest month ever in terms of electric vehicle sales in China, according to Chinese Passenger Car Association. According to the report, the total sales was 83,135 units, which is 48% more than a year ago. I would call that growth. I don't know about you. And a huge new record. Yeah, clearly no demand problem here either, Gordon. That did include the 5,522 for export. So that means that Tesla China delivered domestically 77,613 vehicles to local customers in September, the second highest on record, behind June's 77,938 vehicles. So when so-called analysts are saying Tesla has a demand problem, let's put those numbers into a little perspective. Tesla just delivered about 15,000 more EVs in China in just September than the 63,500 units Volkswagen delivered in first half of 2022. And unlike Volkswagen, that has to pay 50% of their profits to the Chinese joint venture partner, well, they really don't have any profits to share, so they share the loss. But so Volkswagen, that is actually seeing a bit of trouble getting a real foothold in China, can't just reduce the price to boost demand, because they will just lose more money. But Tesla, on the other hand, earn close to 30% margin on their Model Ys in China, so they could easily lower price about 10% and still earn more money on their Model Y than any other OEM earns on their mass-produced cars, and at the same time doubling their addressable market. So Tesla is the one sitting with the flexibility to grow their market and still earn money with their models they already have, something no other car makers can copy at this moment. And when we're speaking about demand, and Tesla's demand should be collapsing in China, well, the Model Y is still the best-selling SUV of any kind in China. No one is even close. And it was actually also the best-selling car of any kind in September in China, the world's biggest car market, as well as Europe's biggest car market, Germany. And of course, in the US, the competition is even further behind. Through Q3 2022, Tesla still sits on 67.4% of the EV market. And GM is not even shown on the list. They are under others. I'm sorry, but that is just hilarious. The self-proclaimed leader in the EV race is under others. And the Model Y is, of course, leading the list of the best-selling EV in the country. And the only one close is Tesla's Model 3. And then we have to drop 100,000 units before we find the number 3, that is the Ford Mach-E. And then we have the Tesla Model S and the Tesla Model X. So yes, the US EV market still belongs to Tesla, and everyone else is just paying rent. So in the month of September, Tesla just test-slapped the whole car industry in all the biggest car markets on the planet. And the Model Y is dominating everything by selling more than 3 times the runner-up in the SUV market in China, growing 41.4% compared to last year, and sold more than 5 times more than the Ford's best-selling EV in the US, and was the best-selling car of any kind in Germany. So Gordon is seeing their sales are collapsing by being the best-selling EV in the world and growing year over year. Yeah, it does not make sense whatsoever, Gordon. Yes, the only thing that is collapsing is the short seller's arguments. Yes, it is not Tesla that is seeing demand problems and collapsing sales. It is the legacy automakers that is now asking for help. Europe's automakers warned that they are likely heading for another year of shrinking sales and called for policymakers to step up their support of the industry struggling to recover from the pandemic. Oliver Zipse, ACEA's president and CEO of BMW, said in a statement, "A pile-up of setbacks, including Brexit, semiconductor shortage, the war in Ukraine, and the resulting energy crisis, have contributed to the industry struggling to get back to pre-pandemic volumes. Until recently, automakers' concerns were about constraint on production limiting vehicle supply. Now, runaway inflation and fear of recession are weighing on demand. To ensure a return to growth with an even greater share of electric vehicle sales so climate target can be met, we urgently need the right framework conditions to be put in place," Zipse said. So, yes, the industry has seen a lot of setbacks, that is for sure. It has not been easy being a legacy automakers in recent years, but I'm afraid they will not get back to pre-pandemic levels. As I have shown many times, as we have just talked about, in the plug-in market share is higher than what the legacy automakers is making, and will rise even faster than any one of them is planning for. That factor alone will make sure that they will shrink in size no matter what other circumstances might arise. So they need to speed up their EV production. That is really the only thing that will help them get back to pre-pandemic levels. But I'm afraid they just don't see this, as they are hiding behind all the other setbacks and only think that this is the reason their ICE sales are going down. But as Kathy Wood from ARK Invest also talked about in this tweet, that the used car market sales are collapsing, as we can see on this chart she shared, that the price of the used car market is quickly collapsing pretty much as fast as it rose over the last couple of years because of supply issue. As she wrote, given the accelerated consumer preference switch towards electric vehicles, used car prices and residual value of all gas-powered autos are likely to plummet, causing serious loss in the 1 trillion auto debt market. And as she also just pointed out, the gasoline market was at its lowest this summer, lower than during the pandemic, levels not seen since 1997. So no, Zipse, it is not just inflation and fear of recession that are weighing on demand. Companies like Tesla and BYD and many others are growing at more than 50% year over year with their EVs. And BMW is also expecting to see 130% growth this year in plug-ins. So the only thing weighing on your demand is fewer and fewer people want to buy your ICE cars. So what we see in the used car market, I think we will also see in the new car market sales in the coming years as well, as no one really wants them anymore. And all the assets for the legacy automakers that are in their ICE cars will quickly turn into even more debt, as I had talked about many times before, and as Kathy is just pointing out here. So yeah, the problem for legacy automakers just keeps stacking up, but I'm not sure what the policymakers should do about it, as they cannot make more EVs. Legacies is just very badly prepared for this shift, and that is why they will not be able to keep up with the collapse of the ICE car in the production of the EVs. Meanwhile, Tesla is just growing at an insane speed never seen before in history. And we have to look at this little chart just for 1 second. Not really news, but I just thought this was a very good showcase of how wrong the mainstream forecast agencies can be and why we have to do our own research. This is the so-called research from LMC Automotive that, according to themselves, is the leading exclusively automotive industry-focused provider of automotive forecasting in sales, production and powertrain. And this is their prediction from 2019, back when I started this channel. In 2025, Tesla should only be making about 325,000 cars in the full year. They just produced and sold more than that in a single quarter here 3 years earlier. And remember, in 2019, Tesla produced 367,000 units. And this was the prediction from mid-2019. I mean, how the hell can a company that proclaims that they are the leading exclusively automotive industry-focused provider of automotive forecasting, and their forecast was completely wrong for the year they already had 50% of the data from? Sure, this was pretty bullish for GM and Ford, as they, in 2019, themselves only expected to be at about 160,000 units of EVs in 2025. But LMC thought they should do about 300,000 each. But now GM wants to do 2 million in 2025. It is so frightening that these forecast agencies are so bad at predicting this. What will happen in only 5 years from now? Because policymakers are also looking at these forecasts and make decisions based on those forecast. But how could they know? Well, we are quite a few YouTubers that have been talking about EV adoption and how fast it would go, and have been pretty close. This is just really embarrassing that these professional forecasting agencies got beaten by a bunch of YouTubers. But this is also why when people ask me, do you really think that you know better than GM and Ford's own R&D centers? Well, I for once have not been surprised by the growth and strong EV demand, but they have. But I, of course, also have the advantage that I am not the one being disrupted. I can look from outside in and just look at the numbers and see what's going on. But all the legacy automakers are experiencing what is called paradigm paralysis. So they kind of have an excuse because they just can't see the data. But the forecast agencies don't really have an excuse. This is just very, very bad work. And let's squeeze in the last short news topics into this news show. Yes, it's time for the Tesla Shorts. Rivian had a good Q3, but unfortunately they had to recall almost all of their cars, 12,212, over potential steering hazard. And as I said in last week's news show, I got a chance to see the VinFast VF8 in person at the Fully Charged live show and really thought this was a very well-built EV with good specs and good price. But Sandy Monroe also think it's very, very good and think it will do very well. And with the price of only 46,000 euros in Europe, that makes it about 7,000 to 10,000 euros cheaper than the ID.4. But it beats it on pretty much all specs, and the software looks very cool, something that cannot be said about the ID.4. I will leave a link to Monroe's video down below. And I did an interview this week with Christian Breyer and Yannick Haas, who was part of the study that proved that 100% renewable energy is possible. I reported on this study about a month ago, but this week I got a chance to sit down and talk with the people behind the study. So definitely go check that one out. And GM is copying some pages of the Tesla book, and they will now also make GM Energy and make their equivalent of the Tesla Powerwall and Megapacks and take on Tesla Energy. The problem is that GM is not really making much of all of this. They are just partnering up with a lot of companies to make this happen, where Tesla is much more integrated. So they will not be able to come close to Tesla's price and margins. And remember, the margins in the energy industry is quite low to begin with. So not an easy thing to do, but I do hope they succeed, as more companies that are making Megapacks and Powerwalls and so on, the faster the shift away from fossil fuel can happen. And we did see SpaceX stack up the Starship on top of the Heavy booster. So hopefully not too long before we get to see this rocket fly and make history and change our civilization forever. And SpaceX also showed this video from the drone ship that caught the Falcon 9 taking off and landing in one video. Now that is one of the best launch and landing video I have ever seen. And I had a great talk with Jan from Tesla Fix on the competition and everything Tesla in a really fun interview where he also did a bit of storytelling as well. Here is just a little taste.
The quote from Steve Ballmer, the former Microsoft CEO from 2007. There's no chance that the iPhone is going to get any significant market share. No chance. This is so funny.
Yeah, I love that quote.
Yeah, because in my opinion, I don't know how you see it, but in my opinion, that's what's happening right now. They see the numbers, and now the train is just driving past them, and they're like, oh God.
Yeah, it was because like when Apple started making the iPhone and it was very expensive, and Ballmer also said like it's the most expensive phone you could ever buy. But they were at some point, Apple sat on 100% of the profit of the smartphone industry because the others were not yet making profit. Just as we see with Tesla right now, they are pretty much sitting on 100% of the profit of the entire EV industry.
Yes, you don't want to miss out on this one. Link to the whole interview down below. And Tom Cruise will launch aboard a SpaceX rocket to film a movie on the International Space Station and could become the first civilian to do a spacewalk. That's just insane. And Trevor Milton, Nikola founder, is convicted of fraud. A federal jury on Friday found Trevor Milton guilty of defrauding investors by lying about supposed technical achievement of Nikola. What a surprise. But it's a real truck. And I'm the only one that can out-Elon. The only people stupid enough to believe in him was very embarrassing. And Elon tweeted about his burnt hair cologne and said, please buy my perfume so I can buy Twitter. Well, it is the Boring Company that is selling them, so it's probably not going to be used for the Twitter deal, but help the Boring Company. And apparently over 5,000 bottles was quickly sold, but not long after that he wrote 10,000 and can't wait to hear the media story tomorrow about $1 million of burnt hair sold. And then he tweeted right on cue. But it did not take long before he wrote 20,000. And they do cost about $100 a piece, so that would be $2 million in no time at all for the Boring Company. Thanks to burnt hair. Yes, everything Elon makes just sells like crazy. And as he wrote, with a name like mine, getting into the fragrance business was inevitable. Why did I even fight it for so long? And Elon replied to Leo's tweet, one of the biggest investors in Tesla, talking about earnings and stock buyback. And Elon wrote, noted. So what does that mean? Well, I'm not going to speculate on that, but just leave that here for you guys. And I finally got the new update in my Tesla with the new energy graph, and the level of detail is just very impressive. Just such a great app they have made here. Just love it. And also the updated app on your phone, where you now have more controls of the music in the car and can see what is playing. And you can actually see on the navigation how far away the car is and what the expected time of arrival is. If the navigation is on, of course. That is just very useful. Love it. And love that my 3.5-year-old Tesla Model 3 just learned yet another new trick. Don't understand why people would ever buy an EV that doesn't get constantly better with over-the-air updates. And apparently there was a lot of thought being spread about Tesla's trying to cheat in the safety test. Of course spread by Dan O'Dan. But Europe NCAP did look into it and has found no evidence that Tesla attempted to cheat with safety test. Of course not. But Dan O'Dan was out lying again. Go figure that. And the Polestar 3 is now ready to order, and it looks pretty nice, with very good specs as expected, and the price tag of about $86,000. The interior looks very good in my opinion, but the screen is still turned the wrong way though, and not really ready for the near future in-car gaming and video. But you can of course get the BMW iX3 instead with this great interior. Wow, that just looked like a BlackBerry to me compared to the Polestar. This should be a very nice EV. And yes, the stock is down, but that just means that I have bought some more stocks. But the haters will hate. Like Ricky Boomstein here. But James reminded us all about Ricky's tweet from 3 years ago, where he thought Tesla would never again have a profitable quarter. And Tesla has had nothing but profitable quarters ever since. And in 2022, they have so far had more net income than both Ford and GM. And the Tesla Q is calling us the deluded fanboys. Well, we have been right so far, so who is the deluded one here, Rick? So the stock may be down over the last 1 year, but since summer 2019 it is still up over 1,000%. So I think us Tesla investors are still very nicely above their investment. And Hallmark's catalog shared a video about Tesla full self-driving doing some amazing stuff with trucks in the way it had to pass over in the other lane, but also waiting for oncoming traffic, and until someone actually gave way to the car, and it also merged into other lane because there was road work ahead. I mean, this really shows some AI thinking going on here. Very impressive. And we did last week talk about the removal of the ultrasonic sensors that Tesla is doing, and I said they are not expensive, but when we talk about 2 million vehicles next year, it will add up. And Monroe Live just did a chart showing the savings Tesla will do, and that added up to $114. So if Tesla makes 2.1 million cars next year, that will be close to $240 million in savings. So that is quite a bit. And of course, the time saved putting all of these things into the car, making the holes and the wiring and everything, making their cars even faster to produce. But before we end off with a bit of fun, I just want to make a quick shout out to my new patrons of this new show. My new patrons, Derek Smith, Yutul, and Jose Nicolau. Thank you so much for all your support. I am doing this all by myself, but you guys are all the producers of this new show. Thank you. And a big and special thanks to Supporter of the Week, and this week's winner is Donald Rawls. Donald has been a cyber patron of mine for more than 2 years. Thank you so much, Donald. Really, really much appreciated. I will contact you on Patreon. In the meantime, go into my merch store and check out my merch and find a t-shirt or mug of your choice. And let's end off with a bit of fun. A little showcase of how people react when they try a Tesla for the first time. That is all we have time for in this news show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help out this video a lot, so please hit that like button. And if you did like it, maybe you want to consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell as well, so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support, and if you want to support the channel even more, remember you can, for as little as $1, become a patron of this channel and get your shout out on this show. You can also become a member of the YouTube channel to get a shout out and some extra perks. Hit the members button to find out more. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I tweet all the news as it comes out and more. And check out the merch store to get some merchandise and support the show. Now it's also possible to support the show without buying anything, becoming a member or a patron. There is a link to a donation options in the show notes. And also as simple as hitting the super like button. But going forward, I will be making more videos for patrons and members only. And I will give my YouTube members and patrons early access to my videos whenever possible and make my videos ads free for members and patrons only. So don't miss out. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.